Hello, everybody. This is the special version of our USL podcast, the Striker Tejas. We are here right after our Open Cup, open round, if I may, for the USL Championship franchises in Texas. A very interesting week for some of us, especially for El Paso. And we'll start with El Paso here, especially because same way that El Paso has forgotten how to play soccer, I think Joe has forgotten how to join us on the podcast, and maybe we're back on track moving forward. Good night, Joe. We miss you, man.
Hey, how's it going, Roberto, Edson, Jonathan? You make it seem like if I've been gone for a month. I was only out 1 week. I took a weekend holiday to the 210 area code over there in Jonathan's neck of the woods to hang out with some family and enjoy the PGA Tour tournament out in San Antonio. And now I'm back, and it feels good to be back with you boys.
All right, now I'm making fun of you because we ended up losing the two podcasts, right? Last week also we changed the date of the podcast that we were recording, so it was our fault. So I'll take the blame on that one. Going down to San Antonio, since you said that you were visiting the beautiful land of, can I say, Viva Fiesta? San Antonio Spurs and the San Antonio FC has been using that a lot, the terra of the Viva Fiesta, San Antonio. Our friend Jonathan, how are you, man?
Doing all right, and yes, it's a very festive time in San Antonio. I think this is the first fiesta, like proper fiesta, we've had since 2019. So the city is loving it. I know last night the Spurs made it to the playing round for the playoffs. So yeah, it's things are coming back, I guess.
That's great, and we're going to talk about the good result that San Antonio had in the Open Cup in the middle of the week yesterday, to be more exact. We're recording right after the RGV game today, Wednesday night. Talking about RGV, Edson Ochoa. Every week you got a new hat. Now we're gonna have to make it know what, like betting also what is gonna be the hat that you're gonna use in the next podcast. Is that it?
How's it going, Roberto, Joe, and I'm blanking. Why am I blanking?
Jonathan, come on, Edson.
Jonathan. I'm
Oh, that
sorry.
Ouch!
hurts.
I'm
That
sorry,
hurts. That
Jonathan.
hurts.
But
And we're not gonna edit this. We're gonna leave this so we can make fun of
The
Edson in the future.
disrespect.
it's a San Antonio rivalry. It got the better of me. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, I think I'm glad to be back. And honestly, about the hats, and that's because I haven't even started a collection yet. Nah, I just enjoy having a hat on my head instead of seeing the mess that my hair actually is usually
I,
after work. So
I was gonna say that same way that you can take a date to Taco Cabana, can you cut your hair on Great Clips or not? I think that can be our next one. So we'll send you a gift card of Great Clips moving forward, Edson. But yeah, let's talk. Let's start with you, Edson. Since we're already down there in South Texas, tell us a little bit about the result of the game. RGV just played. We just published your review from the game. Tell us a little bit about how that game went and what kind of squad did Cabrera use today.
honestly, as far as squad is concerned, it was I mean, it was pretty much a similar squad that they used against LA Galaxy 2 with players like Frank Nadars and Stephen Mueller, players where there actually is a little bit of depth, mostly on the defensive side. Made their appearance today against North Carolina FC. I think the only different aspect was on the bench with Juan David Cabezas actually suiting up for today's match. The match in and of itself, I have to be honest, the first half was kind of a snooze fest. There really wasn't a lot of action. There was a lot of bad plays, bad decisions when it came to passing from both sides. And right before the halftime whistle was going to blow, is one of those plays where you really question what is going on in the minds of some of the players. RGV had a free kick in favor, in a very dangerous place outside the box. And in their attempt to go for a short pass, trying to surprise, um, they ended up, having multiple bad passes, which led North Carolina FC to a counterattack that, after multiple defensive questionable decisions, it almost seemed. And I know I'm probably some people are probably going to get mad the way I describe this, but it almost seemed like my indoor soccer team where everybody just follows the ball and nobody kind of has an idea on where to position themselves, to cover that clearances. And that's exactly what happened. Cross that gets cleared out lands into the feet of a North Carolina FC player. Takes a long distance shot that hits the underside of the crossbar and into the net. The second half, Toros played a whole lot better. Frank Lopez,
he basically controlled the second half, right?
yeah,
I think it was a
basically.
totally different game, right? In the second half.
Basically, honestly, I think whatever Wilmer Cabrera told them in the locker room at halftime really resonated within the players because they actually controlled the game, they controlled the position, they controlled the tempo, and they actually had some opportunities on net that they put in the back of the net to get their historic first win in their first ever appearance in the U.S. Open Cup.
And the second goal also a historic one, right? From an academy player, if I'm not mistaken. Was that it? The second goal?
No, because the second goal was scored by Frank Nadars, which was an acquisition from USL League One.
Okay.
I think he was playing with Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
So no, there
But
wasn't
a beautiful goal, a beautiful shot from the outside of the box, also, right?
exactly.
Yeah, was a nice. So is this the second half of Open Cup, and yeah, we got to take a little bit of into consideration. We're playing against a USL one team, which it's gonna hurt when we discuss about El Paso in a few minutes. A lower division team. Um, but if RGV plays as he played in the second half, is that closer to the kind of team that you expect to make RGV make the playoffs in USLC moving forward?
I still think there's a lot to improve when it comes to passing, especially on the opponent's third field. And but other than that, I think the most positive thing you can take out of this result is that it gives them a little bit of motivation after coming into this match with a losing streak of three straight losses. Gives them motivation to go up against another struggling team, which is Indy 11 on Saturday. And I think the biggest thing as well from this match, one of the things that I criticized them in their game against Orange County SC was their inability to be able to manage the time at the end to be able to get a result. And this time against North Carolina, they had more intelligence when it came to managing those ending minutes, especially in stoppage time.
Interesting. So, final result 2-1 makes the third round. We talked a little bit about this on Monday on our first or on our regular podcast. USL Open Cup, well, not USL Open Cup, Lamar Open Cup. The games are played regionally, so there's a big chance. Not that doesn't say that's going to happen, but there's a big chance that RGV faces San Antonio in the next round.
Don't even. I don't want to get too much into it, but we've already seen 10 South Texas derbies in the last 2 years. Please,
but
somebody else.
it can happen, right? That's a big chance that can happen. So, tell me, Jonathan, how did San Antonio look? And it is my understanding, and I might be mistaken here, that San Antonio came in with a totally different squad than what Marcina has been using on the USLC on the previous games. Correct?
Yeah, you're not mistaken. There were changes pretty much throughout the field. I think Jordan Ayambila and Connor. I predicted a few, players, but really the only regular first teamers that were in that we kind of expected were PC returning from injury, Justin Dillon returning from injury, Shannon Gomez, and besides that, it was some guys returning like Jasser Kamiri, and a lot of youth. There were half the outfield really.
I was going to say 4 or
young
5 players that were academy
Um,
players, right? Young
So
players, right?
yeah, so that was sort of the big shakeup and the big headline before it was the first start for all 5 of them. And as what were you going to say?
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, and as it turned out, the youth generally did all right. Henrik Sakshag became the second youngest player to score a goal for San Antonio FC and the youngest to score a brace. And it was just a really chaotic kind of start to the second half. First half, both teams kind of eased their way into the match, missed some chances.
I was gonna say that very similar to the RGV game in a way, right? That first half that you don't know where you're gonna go, very sloppy in many ways, and then the second half becomes a totally different game.
Yeah, it really kind of just kicked off. All 4 goals. It ended 3-1 for SAFC, and all 4 goals were scored between the 53rd and 61st minute. Henrik Sakshag opens the scoring up with just kind of getting on the end of a ball that pinged around the box following a free kick. A minute later, Connor Maloney gets on the end of a deflected ball, delicately chips it over the keeper. 3 minutes after that, Sakshag again is in the right place at the right time, sends the ball into the bottom left corner. Really good composure and finishing from him. And a few minutes later, Matt Cardoni can't quite hold on to a cross, and defeaters kicks get that consolation goal. But SAFC looked a lot better in that second half, and as the timing of the goals indicate, maybe defeaters kicks were a little shocked by the first goal and then even the second one, because really they had looked. All it would have taken was a moment of magic from them, and they could have led SAFC, and then suddenly, within 2 minutes, they're down 2-0. But SAFC came out of halftime with a lot more attacking thrust. Connor Maloney came in off the bench, and that was seen as kind of a big catalyst, put a lot of pep in SAFC's step, and toward the end, they just managed the match well and were able to hold on and advance to the next round.
And what was the final score so everybody knows here? How did that go?
3-1, like I said.
3-1, right? And we talked a little bit about in the podcast a few days ago about the impact that this game's mid-game weeks could do in the squad for the weekend. At the end, out of the 3 teams, the one that comes more fresh for the weekend, for both reasons, for the win, you have the morale of the win, but you also have your main players rested for playing in the weekend. So San Antonio, I think it's in the best position of all going into the weekend, and again, also the fact that they're on the top of the table, which also gives some peace of mind planning the team. Then we go to El Paso. Interesting trip to California. I burned my tongue again because I believed that El Paso would show up and do a great game, and it was going to be their moment to start the year. What a big surprise for me. I guess not as much for Edson and maybe for you, Joe. I want to hear from you, but I know Edson didn't think was a big surprise. But uh, tell me what happened.
No, I mean, surprise. It depends in what context you say surprise. Obviously, um, the way things developed, win, lose or draw, that's not much of a surprise. But the way things developed, I think it was still a surprise. It was what I called it, in my recap. You guys can go and read over at the Striker Tejas. It was an inexcusable performance. That was a word I used in my recap. It was a word I used on social media and my tweets. And frankly speaking, it was an embarrassing situation that developed in Clovis, California yesterday. Yes, the announcers said ad nauseum that it was a lineup where they moved around 10 different pieces compared to what they had against the San Diego Loyal. Doesn't make a difference. The type of mistakes that this team made were the same. The kind of juvenile errors and mistakes are what we've been seeing. The makeup of the 17 goals that have been scored on the Locomotive in the first 5 goals, or excuse me, in the first 5 matches of the season across all competitions, meaning the USL Championship and the one game they participated in the US Open Cup. And honestly, the situation right now, we I think we mentioned it on a few podcasts back with all of our teams. You're not going to know what these teams are until 5, 6, 7 games
We're
into the
there.
season.
We're there now,
And
right?
we're there now. Absolutely. They talk about, oh well, at least this team is scoring, but no, the part that is extremely poor, and getting to, in very, very, very bad is the fact that this team gets scored on, and in the manner in which they do. There was people on social media, and yes, you can blow me up, get back at me later on Twitter, come find me, I'm easy to find. But people say, oh, like with the second goal, it was a 35-yard strike from, it was a 35-yard strike, beautiful kick. Yes, but where did it come
Well,
from? It came
you're always gonna
from a
find an
corner
excuse
kick that
for
was
goals,
off of
right?
a dumb turnover.
Yeah, yeah.
So those things just kind of
I'm with you.
develop.
I'm with you.
But yeah, no, this
No,
situation is getting dire, and coming up against Monterey Bay this coming weekend, I if they come up with a draw, it would be a good result for this team right now.
yeah, yeah. Well, as you can hear on our podcast on Monday, again, like I said, I'm still optimistic. Was at least more. I think the result yesterday hurt me a little bit, but I think if you wanna get things going, playing against Monterrey might be the best team to play against. So maybe it's a good moment. But as we always said, also USL Championship, you never know what you're gonna get. So it's always surprising. But Edson covered the game for you over the weekend, right? You were like you said, you're in San Antonio, and Edson, correct me if I'm wrong, but your assessment of the team, your main concern was about the back line always being on one. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then we can confirm with Joe if that was what happened yesterday again.
So basically, what I said in summary was that against San Diego Loyal, there were multiple times where the defensive line was left in shambles because their outside backs had gone up on the attack, which left players like Yuma one on one against speedy players like Nick Moon and Tomas Amang, and that left them extremely vulnerable in those three goals. And I felt that with the players that I feel that El Paso has at the moment, including the fact that they're consistently using Yuma as a starter, take into consideration that he's 36 years old and he's not the speediest player out there, you're going to leave him extremely exposed. And I don't think that that's something that they'll be able to fix completely in the season.
Yeah, I agree with the fact that they're being one on one. That's the one thing I don't understand, and it's something I look forward to touching on this subject, whether we have media availability either tomorrow or on Friday, which I'm hoping that we do. Edson, you're very correct, and I think I was talking about this with my dad. The thing that I don't understand is fine, and you're going to be offensively aggressive. That's fine. You're gonna leave yourself slightly vulnerable. Fine. But what I don't understand is why they haven't worked on staggering themselves on that defensive line a little bit, playing one a little bit behind the other to stagger yourself. That way you're not on a flat line where if you get past the one defender that's closest to the ball, it's a straight pass to the goal. That's what it is beyond me, that they haven't worked on how to stagger themselves a little bit, just to get a little bit of relief. As far as what you're saying about Yuma, I believe he's coming off. He's been hurt. He hasn't played a whole lot this season. Last year, he played with great regularity in that center defender position, and he did a fairly adequate job. But you also got to know that you also have to understand that Mark Lowry was very emphatic about this, and they executed is they attacked as 11 and they defended with 11 players, and that stress that whoever's in the center back position isn't finding, is finding themselves with right now. It's something that this team, as far as returning players go, it's something they're not used to. Another thing that I have to add is just this new personnel that's come in, under the, being selected by John Hutchinson. They've showed that they struggle one-on-one defensively as well. I'm talking about the two outside backs. If it's not for Siobhan John Brown yesterday, he had a very, very disappointing performance. And it's just one of those things where, I just, it's going to take a significant, I think, you know, strategic change to happen defensively if this team's going to get into any games. And, what I don't understand is talking, Roberto, about going into the 5 matches, and this is what your team is. This might be a time to consider it, and it's something John Hutchinson has said ad nauseum. We're concerned about ourselves. We're focused on ourselves. We're working on ourselves. We got it on our execution. You're getting to the point where it's going to be like, okay, let's see what this team does and what can we do to stop them so that we can get some kind of result and be a little bit more considerate of the opponent that you're facing. I think that's something that they need to start looking at immediately.
Yeah, you can think more about yourself when you're winning, right? When you're losing, you got to be a little bit more worried, and I'm sure everybody's worried in El Paso within the organization.
The one question that I have for you is for you, Roberto. Obviously, that you can give us the insight about the ongoings of the front office dynamic. Okay, what I want to know, because people are blowing up social media. Obviously, they're not happy. Obviously, this is the first storm that Locomotive fans have ever had to weather because they've known nothing but success. So that's another story for another day. But just kind of giving it some thought. They're talking about, oh, terrible hire, blah blah blah. This is what they should do. Everybody's a pundit, right? My question is for example, the Locomotives, they don't have a sporting director where they can, where you can go and be like, okay, this is the person that hires and makes the decisions from an administrative standpoint for, who the coaching staff is, who the players are, that, the buck stops with them. The Locomotives just have Alan Ledford, who's the president of Mountain Star Sports Group, and I can promise you, Alan Ledford is more, when he's very good at staying in his lane and he's very good at his job, is more of the business aspect. Andrew Forrest, his title is, he's the general manager of business development. So that's kind of what I'm wondering, Roberto. Like, how does that go about?
Yeah, so there's three models basically, right, that you can say. If you think about the right way to do it, the perfect way would be for you to have the CEO, right, the technical director, the business director, or whatever you want to call, and then everybody around, and then the head coach under the technical director. The challenge that you have, that with the budgets that USL Championship have, makes very little sense for you to have a technical director, right? And then what you do, you either let the technical director be the head coach, or you make the president be the technical director, or you make the technical director a hybrid position between the business person and the head coach, right? And that's where usually the teams are, and that's where El Paso is. And I had this conversation with Andrew last year exactly about that structure, and he said, "Oh, Roberto, all the decisions that we make here is between Mark Laurie, myself, and Alan. Right? We sit, the three of us, and we make the decision. It's a group decision. Of course, when you're talking about one of them being fired, the weight goes to the other two of them, and they're going to have that discussion with the ownership. So I don't think, though, that we are at that point yet. Right? I think we're very far away from even having that discussion. I would be very, very surprised if internally they even thinking about that. They can be questioning themselves if it was the right hire or not. I think everybody is. I would even say that himself, he's thinking about, man, did I make the right decision on doing this, on coming here? Am I going to be able to deliver the things that I wanted to deliver, right? In the other hand, we also have to remember that their goal was to be a forward team, score goals, and that has happened in the last 2 or 3 rounds, right? So I think that's a little bit more. So again, I think it's early for us to have that discussion, but the decision is going to be between Andrew and Alan, for sure. I think that's where you are, and Andrew has a pretty good knowledge of the technical side also, right? Although he has that
leans towards the business aspect of
the
it.
business is what he does on the daily basis. He's very knowledgeable about making decisions on the technical side if he needs to and if he gets involved. And I really trust him. I think he's a very good, one of the best ones out there in USL Championship. I would say in San Antonio, very similar situation, right? Where you have Tim Holt working with Marcina, where Marcina kind of have both positions, but I'm sure Marcina doesn't make the decisions by himself. I know for sure that Tim Holt is making those decisions with Alan in a daily basis. So it's basically a hybrid situation. Again, same way that I had at the Austin Bold, where Marcelo was the head coach, I was the general manager, and we divided. We made decisions together when we're talking about the technical side. So that's how I see. But talking about decisions, and I like the segue that you gave me there. I was making a little bit of a joke with you guys before how the decision of one person can basically destroy two clubs at the same time, right? When Mark Lowry decides to leave and go to Indy 11, now both teams are the worst teams in the league at this point. It's an interesting thing. Everybody's struggling because Mark Lowry made that decision.
Kind
But
of the epitome of decisions. Every decision has consequences, right?
that's exactly it. That's exactly, and the consequences are there, right? And talking about consequences, RGV is playing Mark Lowry on the weekend. Um, After the game today, do you change anything, Edson, from what you said this week? What do you expect this weekend playing against India at home on Saturday?
I think that Indy 11 is going to come in with a lot of pressure, with the fact that you add that they were eliminated from the U.S. Open Cup by St. Louis City FC2. You know, and so that just piles up to the weight that Mark Lowry has to bear. So now he's probably under the situation where I have to win against RGVAFC, a team that he has played against before, that has some knowledge about it, and so it's going to be difficult. I think for RGV, not necessarily in the talent level, maybe, but maybe just the fact that right now they have Indy 11 can't get any worse than where they are at right now, right? But they
But
can.
but 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 it is a challenge also, guys. Don't forget, a coach that's not winning, he starts losing the team, and it becomes even harder to win games. Right? That's a natural
Mhm.
process, and being out of the Open Cup against a lower league team like El Paso did and Indy did, it hurts on the it hurts on in the
The
pride
morale.
and the morale and the confidence that the players have on themselves. It makes it even much harder to win. So I think it's going to be. I think the weekend was made easier on RGV on what happened with Indy this week. That's again my opinion,
Mhm.
but I think you have some interesting considerations there.
And
Uh,
another
yes,
interesting consideration is the fact that Indy 11 just announced, I think this week, Jonas Gelberg, former Toro, from last season. So will be interesting to see how he is going to bring in something different for Indy 11, for Mark Lowry, especially after everything that he did in that latter part of the 2021 season under Wilmer Cabrera, and how that's going to affect with him knowing Cabrera's system, what kind of insight he might offer Mark Lowry in trying to defeat RGV.
interesting. Um, San Antonio flies to California, the land where El Paso don't even want to show up anymore. I think at this point they're scared of California. But playing Orange County again. Same question to you: does the win yesterday with a pretty different squad changes what you expect from this team over the weekend, Jonathan?
Even with all the academy players, it gives them at least that little bit of a confidence boost. At the same time, though, you look at the way SAFC was just about as lackluster in the first half as they had been at the weekend. So they definitely need to channel that sort of second half from Tuesday night, not from the weekend. Um, and if we see that, though, if we see players pushing forward more, challenging for the ball a little more, um, they could give Orange County, a decent run. I think we said on Monday they haven't had the best start to the season, but at the same time, I talk about SAFC getting confidence from this result. Orange County themselves beat LA Force 5-2 in the Open Cup. So, and I don't know. I know I saw some first teamers, but I don't know that they necessarily went full strength there either. So, both teams coming off positive confidence building results. We'll see how SAFC is able to do. We'll see, you know, like I said earlier, guys like PC and Justin Dillon are back, so that's a positive. If SAFC can just kind of start building some consistency with that lineup, maybe we see them get back to winning ways, or at least get a result.
Is there? I got a question for Jonathan. Do you think, Jonathan, there's like an element or a factor, that is a positive
Revenge?
for San Antonio, as far as an element of the idea of revenge from being eliminated from the playoffs last season? A little bit of
Yeah.
extra motivation, perhaps.
Yeah, Roberto asked me about that on Monday, I think. I don't think I'm going to get to ask SAFC, but my guess, based on discussions with them, is that maybe some of the players returning from last year would say, yeah, it's in our minds a little bit. If you ask Alan Marcina, it's SAFC's opponent. It's just a generic team they play. They look to win every game.
We needed
they'll-
3 points no matter what.
yeah,
That normal
I mean,
blah 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 that we always
they'll
get from head
obviously
coaches.
they'll obviously prepare for the strengths and weaknesses of the individual team, but they're not gonna say, even if they are motivated a little more, they're not gonna say it.
Yeah. Joe, you kind of already said this before, but just to make it clear, your expectations to Monterrey are not good. Is that it for the weekend?
I think this team's at a point where if they were to pull off a tie, heck, a 1-1 tie, a 0-0 tie, just keep the score, keep the ball out of if the Locos keep the ball out of their own net, I think that would be a very, very big accomplishment. And I'm not being sarcastic when I say that. I think it'd be a significant improvement and an important stepping stone in turning this thing around. A low scoring game, a low scoring draw, I think would be excellent for El Paso. I really, really do. Obviously, it goes without saying, if they were to get the win, well, yeah, of course. But I'm telling you right now, somehow I would take and Edson, Jonathan, Roberto, tell me what you think. I almost would take a 0-0 draw instead of a 4-3 or 3-2 win.
I would say the other way around, just because I know that the style of play that he's building is to have high scoring games, right? So in other situations maybe, but I think for that one, I don't know if I agree with you, my friend.
Edson?
You're muted.
What El Paso really needs is a win.
Anyway.
I don't think it matters to them if they get a 0, but if they don't get 3 points, which is what they need at this moment, it's worthless. Right now at this point, El Paso shouldn't care about if they play beautiful, if they play entertaining, if they get the shutout. If you don't get the 3 points, none of that matters.
But see, if they win 4-3 and they come back to get the win, what have you fixed? Chances are they're going to score another 3
you got,
or 4
you
or
got,
5
you
on
got the
next
morale,
week.
you got the 3 points. I think there's a lot to that, Joe. But I understand what you're saying. I
think it's easier to fix things winning than
yes.
losing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
I
also
understand
fact.
that. No, I completely agree with you there. But it's just one of those things where, yes, a win's important, but then a matter in the way that you win, I think, is also going to be significant. Jonathan?
Yeah, so I'll just chime in. First of all, I think I'm kind of gonna refute something Edson said. Nobody needs 3 points at this stage of the season. Okay, we're still in the first month. I think whether it's a 4-3
No,
win, a
you
scoreless.
do need Jonathan
No
the
one
3 point
needs it,
after
though.
you
Look,
played four
when you
games, you lost every single
with
game, you were eliminated of Open Cup. You need a win at some
and
point. You gotta win.
especially with how tight the USL Championship can be, any points that you draw at whatever point in the season, whether it's in the beginning, in the middle, or the end, you're probably going to be regretting many of the dumb or bad results that you've made in those aspects. RGV almost last season, RGV almost suffered through that had it not been for that 4-1 win over El Paso Locomotive at the last week. So saying that 3 points don't count or don't matter because it's early in the season. No, all 3 points are 3 points regardless of where it's at. That's the way I see it.
I think it depends on the perspective, because I even was saying at the end of last season, fine margins maybe cost SAFC. I know after their loss in the Western Conference Final, I was saying the penalty that they missed, barely, fine margins there, and losing out on a couple points earlier in the season. But that's talking about a team that was making it into the playoffs and all that. With the start that the Locos have had, they just need a result. Anything
Well,
will
that's
do
it.
just to try and get the ball rolling, to get some of that confidence back. You've got to start somewhere.
I think that's unanimous. I think everybody understands and knows that they need to start bringing points, because if they don't, then you have gonna have a problem. Imagine having to change the head coach in at some point in the middle of the season. It's not what this club is about, and it's not the right way to do it. Right, so. It is challenging, I think, especially because what you said before, Edson. It is not Edson, Joe. It is the first crisis that this club has had in their history of in their existence, right? So we really have to see how things are going to play moving forward. I want to propose something. I don't like to change the rules without discussing with the group before, but I'll take the responsibility on this one, and I'm going to allow all of us to change the points that they expect for the weekend. I'm not going to change mine, but I'm going to allow the three of you to make a change if you want. Just a reminder: I put 6 points out of the three games. Edson had 2 points. Jonathan had 4, and Joe had 4. I'll start with you, Edson. Do you want to change, or are you going to stay with your 2 points?
I'm sticking by my guns with the 2 points.
Jonathan.
I'll stick with 4.
All right, Joe.
Staying with 4.
All right, that's even better. I like
So
this
much for that
so
segment.
much, man. We may not believe in the teams, but we believe in ourselves. I love this, man. I love it.
It's funny. You know what's funny? It's funny though that we're believing in ourselves and what our guesses are, but the points system
getting it
on
wrong.
this thing,
We're
getting it wrong. So we believe in ourselves.
Okay,
Be confidently wrong.
Now that we're winding this
Exactly.
down, I have 2 general observations from tonight's show, or 2 pending questions for Edson. One for each, Edson and Jonathan. Edson,
Okay.
number 1, did you really just call out your indoor soccer league or your team while you were
My
giving your
team.
analysis?
My
Your
team.
Dude, taking shots at your own team, bro. What's up with that? That's not cool. I noticed that. That wasn't cool.
Hey, you gotta call a
It
spade
is
a
what it
spade.
is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
And number 2, my second thing, mine for Jonathan. Earlier today, this afternoon, on social media, I saw a picture of San Antonio's junior academy. Some players in the picture. My question is, you know how they modified the numbers on the blackout shirts?
Yes.
Right?
Okay, the main sponsor on the front shirt, you should look into this, Jonathan. Are they getting a rebate on their sponsorship dollars? Because I can't tell what the sponsorship is on that shirt. They should have at least demanded that get modified too, the way the back numbers did. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I've had some people say Toyota should be asking for their money back, but honestly, at this point, they've sponsored SAFC and the Scorpions before them for a number of years. They still have stadium naming rights. I doubt that they care that their logo doesn't show up on the front of a second division American soccer team's jersey.
That's it. I think they might have more exposure on the jerseys that they sell, because the jersey is beautiful close by. It is a nice jersey, right? So maybe they have a better exposure and relationship with the fans, having that change and not showing as much as on the TV. But
not only
still,
that, I feel like I really doubt that San Antonio decided to go with this kit without notifying Toyota first.
They approved. No, they
okay,
approved.
So I don't think Toyota has an issue with it if they're able to be viewed on TV or not. It's preferred to be able to be noticed on the broadcast, but I think at this point, like Jonathan said, I think they really don't care much about that.
All right, guys. So we already on 40 minutes. So we're beyond the ideal here. So thank you very much, everybody. We got a great weekend of USL Championship. Remember, every game on ESPN Plus, and every game we got a recap, a preview, and a recap from this amazing group of journalists. And I'm excluding myself on that. I'm talking about the three of you. So remember to subscribe to the Striker Texas. Follow us on social media. Get your friends and your neighbors to subscribe and follow us. And we can only do what we're doing because of the support that we get from everybody. So remember, support local soccer, and especially the Texas teams. See you guys next week.
Y'all have a good
Y'all take
one.
care.